This is a marital couple session with Bill and Leslie. Before I go into a session, I'd like to say a little bit about what to look for. As you may know, the solution-focused approach is very much into building solutions. We make a distinction between building solutions and problem solving. Because we have found over the years that problem solving activities are very different than problem solving, than solution building activities. That what one engages in solution building is very much about the future focus, that what they need to do differently in order to find the solutions. Also, that the second point I'd like to make is that there seems to be no connection between the presenting complaint and presenting problem and the solutions to them. And I believe that you will watch how this will manifest clinically. The third point is the therapist's posture is that of not knowing. Harry Gulushan and Harlene Anderson's term that is that therapist not knowing posture that takes, and that is the therapist is not the expert, but the client is the expert to their problems and to their solutions. And so the therapeutic task then is, through the conversation, how to figure out what they need to do in order to generate the solutions that is consistent with their vision of their ideas about what will be satisfactory life for them. Let me come back to a little bit about the couple. Leslie and Bill have been married about 7 years, and they have 2 children, ages 5 and 3. Bill also has another child from the previous marriage, but he rarely sees this child, even though he makes child support payment. Bill is an attorney working for a large law firm, and Leslie is a consumer service director of consumer services for a large telephone company. And as you watch, I would like you to pay attention to how closely the therapist follows the client's ideas of what their solutions are. Nice to see both of you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. I understand, Bill, you are working where? What kind of job? What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney.
Uh-huh.
I do taxes primarily for corporations.
Do you?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I understand that's where the big money is?
But we don't see any of it.
You don't see. You don't see.
I think in the next few years,
yeah?
I'll be up to a fairly decent income. Right now, I'm trying to build a clientele.
Yeah, right.
He tries very hard. He sees so many people in terms of building up that clientele.
Yeah.
He's trying very hard.
Is it?
Mm.
Is he good? Is he good at what he's doing?
Well, you probably should ask some of the ladies that he sees so much. You know, I mean, those are his clients. Excuse me, those are his clients.
Yeah.
But he's out every evening, so I guess he must be good. Huh?
Uh-huh.
I'm in the stage of trying to develop a partnership. I'd like to be a partner in this firm.
Right.
So I spend a lot of hours with a lot of clients. And a lot of them are women. A lot of women are in corporate America today.
Which is really our problem. It's part of our problem.
Right.
Because I know that you have to spend time at work. He spends an awful lot of time out of the house. So that I have the primary responsibility for our children. My question and my concern is, and that's one reason that I wanted us to come here, so that maybe through talking he could come to understand that he has some responsibilities too.
Right.
And they don't
Right.
include spending evenings out talking to women who are not always your clients,
Okay.
Bill.
This
Okay.
is
Just hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let me come back to that. I'm going to come back to that. What about you, Leslie? What kind of work do you do?
I work too, and I have to
Uh-huh.
work, and I have to be out of the house a lot.
Sure.
I work for Central Telephone Communications,
Uh-huh.
and I'm the director of customer service there. And that,
Ooh,
needless to say,
Very busy.
requires a lot of time and
very
effort.
busy.
And
Uh-huh.
plus, with our little children, and
I don't know how you do
Bill
it.
not
I don't know
being-
how you do that.
we're not doing it. That's exactly what's happening.
Uh-huh.
At least, I'm doing the best that I can.
Right.
I work on the average of 70 hours a week, and
I work
you know,
close to that.
I'm sure you
Out
do.
of the house, and then
I'm
that
sure
doesn't
you
include
do.
the time in the house. I have the
Right.
primary responsibility of doing the housework, the shopping,
And
the
your
child
children are
care.
very small.
They're very
Very
small.
small, 5 and 3.
Right.
I'm sure they keep
Right
you
at
very
home.
busy.
Yes, and I actually take responsibility for Bill's son by his first marriage,
Uh-huh.
Bill Jr.
Yeah.
on occasion.
It's
On
more
occasion,
than
not regularly. I mean,
When is the last time that you went to pick up Bill Jr. and took him back home?
Okay.
Or
let
make
me, let me come
arrangements?
back to that. Let me come back to that. I'm sure you have lots of issues. Sounds like you. How long have you been together?
7 years.
7 years. Uh-huh. Okay.
7 long
And,
years.
So it sounds like you both are feeling very frustrated about what's going on or what's not going on between
Well,
two of
you know, I mean, she has zero understanding about what's going on. It makes it
Right.
very difficult.
See, that's
we
part
used
of the
to
problem.
communicate.
It's
now-
always me. I have the zero understanding. He understands it all.
Sure.
He understands it all.
Sure.
That's the problem.
Right.
You know,
Got it.
I don't think he is frustrated. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for me
Right.
making the appointment.
Right.
I think
Okay.
he's happy that it just goes on, and I just work myself
I'm
to a
frustrated,
frazzle.
but I think it's our responsibility.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, we should be able, as two adults, to sit down and talk about our problems. But
Well,
when
as
we
two
do,
adults,
it,
we ought to
it
be able to
goes
do a
just
number
like
of
this.
things.
She
Okay.
just goes on and on and on, and I don't have an
let me
opportunity.
come back to this. What do you suppose needs to happen as a result of you being here today, so that you can say, sort of looking back at this time, oh, let's say 3 months from now, 6 months from now, when you look back at this period in your life, so you can say to yourselves, that was a good idea that we went and talked to Insu. That was helpful. What
Well,
needs
I
to
would hope
happen?
that
What needs to
Bill
happen?
could come up with some kind of understanding of what his responsibilities, and that in these sessions he could really hear what I am saying, because at home he really doesn't listen, and therefore he could change his behavior so that we could be as we were earlier in the marriage,
Really?
you know, listening to one another and communicating. But he
Right.
seems to have
That's
strayed
what
from
it-
that.
That's what we need.
What?
Communication.
Okay.
If we can come out of this with some ground level communication, I will think that it has been
Okay.
successful.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, we just have a
All
problem being able to talk
I understand.
together.
I
in the
talk,
same
you don't
room
even say
and
anything
hear
when I
each other.
talk
Okay.
anymore.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Now, let me come back to this. You mentioned Bill being more responsible.
Yes, I'd like to see more of that.
All right.
I appreciate him as a provider.
Right.
You know, I appreciate him as a husband. I do love him.
You do.
And I know he does work hard.
You do love him.
Yes, I do.
Oh.
I do.
Uh-huh. Okay. So when he is more responsible, what will he be doing that he's not doing right now that will let you know he's being more responsible?
He will take responsibility more for our children. He will take more responsibility for his own son, whom I love very much too.
Okay.
He will take responsibility to include me and have respect for me. Include me in his activities and have respect for me. It hurts me
Okay.
to be out
Okay,
and
let
hear
me
my
come back to
girlfriends
this.
talk about his girlfriends that they see.
Okay. Let me come back to this. What will...
At 70 hours a week, you know, it's really difficult
Okay.
for
Let
me
me
to
come back
be-
to this. All right, hold on. I'm going to come back to you on that. What will Bill be doing exactly that will let you know that he is being responsible around the house with the children, with his son, and what will he be doing that he's not doing right now that will let you know?
Right now, I'm always reading the bedtime stories because he's out doing whatever. I'm
So
putting
he will
children
be
to
doing
bed.
some of those?
Yes, especially on the weekends when you don't have to carry the load that you carry during the week.
Okay.
I would like some help around the house.
Like
He thinks that I'm
What?
a built-in maid, it feels like.
What would he
I'm
be
doing
doing?
all the cleaning, I'm doing all the washing, I'm doing
Right.
all the ironing, and I'm doing all the cooking. He
Right.
doesn't. I
So
have
what
to
would
cook
he
for
be
the children.
doing?
He's never home.
What would it be doing?
He would
When
be
he's more
helping. He
helpful?
would be planning. He would be going
Look,
to
we
the
could
grocery
hire.
store.
We could hire somebody, but for some reason you don't
Bill,
want to do
how
that.
could we
You
hire
keep
someone
saying
we
you
don't
want
have the
nobody
money?
around the kids.
We don't have the money, dear.
Okay,
Oh.
hang
We're
on a
spending
minute.
a large
How much
portion
would it cost?
in
How much would it
child
cost?
support for Bill.
How much
Jr.
would it cost?
Okay, hang on a minute.
More than we
hang on a
have.
minute, Bill. Hang on a minute. Just a minute. I'm going to come back to you on that. So he will be reading bedtime stories.
Yes.
He will be doing what else?
He would be helping with the shopping. He would be
Okay.
helping with household duties, the cleanups.
Like what? You mean washing
shopping.
dishes?
Yes,
or-
he could help once in a while. Once in a
Oh,
while, you
wait.
could help wash
Okay.
the dishes.
I'm going to be frank.
Okay.
If I work 70 hours a week, I do not have time to wash dishes.
But I
Okay?
have time
I'm
because
not
I
gonna
work
wash no
50.
dishes.
Plus, I have all the
That doesn't even make
responsibilities for the
sense.
children.
That doesn't look. That
Okay.
doesn't even make
Well, we
sense.
have
Okay.
a dishwasher.
Hang
It's
in a
not
minute.
that difficult. You could help.
Hang on a minute. Okay, you guys. Hang on a minute. Slow down a little bit because I need to know how I can be helpful to you. Okay? So I need to know from both of you what needs to happen so that I am helpful to both of you. So let me come back to this. What would it be doing different, let's say 3 months from now, 6 months down the road?
I think even though it's important that he is building the partnership, and I realize it takes time, and I try to be supportive, he also has to build a relationship at home. We have little ones.
So
They
what
don't
would he be
even know
doing?
you.
So what would it be doing
He-
to build a relationship at home?
He would be communicating more with me.
Okay.
He would be taking an active role with our children. Our children, he is just someone who comes in the morning and leaves. I mean, they don't even have a concept of who you are. And I think that's a shame.
Okay.
Well,
now,
yeah,
let me come back to you, Bill, on this. I'm assuming you want to have this relationship with Leslie also?
Yes, of course.
You do. You do.
Yes, I love her as well.
You do.
Yes.
Does she know how much you love her?
Do I know?
She should.
She should.
I mean, you know.
Yeah? What do you think? What do you think? Does she
You know,
know?
we've been together for 7 years. I love her. I haven't left her. I wouldn't leave her. This is my wife. I love her. I love my children as well. The thing is,
Do you see what? Do you see?
Well-
He has a wedding ring. I wear mine. He doesn't even wear his. He doesn't wear it.
look, here's the thing.
So
I
what would you...
figured that my children are 3 and 5 years old.
Mhm.
So you don't
that
wear
I
your
can
wedding ring
put
because
in
of that?
these. Will you let me talk, please?
Go on.
I figure that they're 3 and 5 years old, that if I put in these hours now, when they are older and they'll be able to appreciate me more, that I will then have more time to spend with them. That's the principle that I'm operating under. I have an option here. Either I can stay at home and wash dishes, or I can spend 70 hours a week trying to build up this practice so that as an eventuality, you don't even have to work. And you don't seem to have any
wow.
patience
have to
or
work.
understanding
So
or
that's what you like to
cooperation to
have.
try to...
So you really are working for the future.
Yes, absolutely.
And what
I'm
would it
trying to
take-
secure a future, not just for myself, but for all of us.
Right. Now, what can Leslie do to be helpful so that she understands
Well, if
how hard you're working?
if it's unbalanced right now, if
Right.
she needs to do more at home and I need to do more away from home, she needs to be able to understand that. You need to be able to work with me
I
on
see.
this. Okay? I mean, we have a 7-year investment. As an eventuality, we're going to be together. So all I'm saying is she should be able to do most of the stuff at home.
Gotcha.
Okay? Let me work these. It's like I'm working 2 jobs right now.
Okay.
Let me work these 2 jobs.
I'm
And
working 3.
within
Okay.
a
Hang on
couple
minute.
years.
Okay. I'm going to ask both of you some very strange questions that will take some imagination on both of your parts. Do you
Okay.
both have a good imagination?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try.
You try. Okay.
she does.
All
She
right.
does.
All right, here comes. Let's say, as a result of a miracle, you believe in miracles?
Known of a few.
Yes? Is that right? Yeah? Okay. So, as a result of that, the problem that brought you here today, gone. Just like that. Just solved. Just like that.
That would be a miracle.
That would be nice. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay? All right? That would be nice. But this miracle happens to happen in the middle of the night when both of you are sleeping. Like tonight, for example. When you go to bed tonight, when you go home and go to bed tonight, this happens. So you don't know that this has happened. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, what will be the first small clue to you? Wow, something must have happened during the night. The problem is gone. How will you discover this?
I'll smile first thing in the morning instead of avoidance.
You will smile at Leslie.
He would put his arm around me.
He will put your arm, okay. He will put his arm around you, okay.
Would be a real sign of a miracle at this point.
Okay. All right, so suppose he does. What will you do in response to that? What would it?
I won't turn my back to him.
Okay. Okay. Is that right? Is that what she would do? Would that be a miracle for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a miracle for you.
It would be very different.
that would be different. Okay.
Yeah, it would be a miracle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It would really be different than what's been going on as of late.
Okay. So when she turns her back towards you so she's facing you. When you smile at her, she'll face you instead of turning her back towards you. What will you do when you see her do that?
Oh, I suppose I'd embrace her, probably.
Uh-huh. So you'll give her a hug.
Yeah.
Huh. What about you, Leslie? What will you do when he gives you a hug?
Well, if he hugs me, I'll hug him back.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. What will come after that?
Well, Saturday?
A miracle.
That's true. Okay, that's true. Okay. When was the most recent time when you had a morning like that? When would you say was the most recent time? Maybe not all of it, but just the pieces of that, parts of that sort of miracle picture.
Been a while.
Probably
It's
right
been a
after
while.
Evelyn was born.
Is that right?
That's almost
Well,
2 years, almost 3 years ago.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Really, I think
Yeah.
so.
Uh-huh.
Am I right? Can it be
well,
right sometimes?
I don't know if it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Can it be,
Okay.
be right there? See?
Okay.
You know, somewhere in that framework.
Okay,
I would say it's
so,
been that long.
well, not all of it, but just the pieces of that.
It's been a couple of years.
It's been a couple of years.
We've been
It's been a
avoiding.
while.
Yeah, we've been
in
avoiding.
it.
You know, he goes, he's out a lot. I take care of the kids. I bury myself in my job, but I'm not married to my job. You
Right.
know, I'm married to him.
Right.
And my job is important. My children are precious to me. But I want the whole thing. And I want
You
to
want
be-
every right. So
Right,
you
well,
want this relationship.
Right. I know it won't always be, peaches
Right.
and cream, but
Right.
it's not supposed to be,
Yeah. So
Right,
she's
very
pretty
simple.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let me come back to this tomorrow morning. What when the children see the two of you tomorrow morning, what would they see different about the two of you that would tell them, wow, something happened to mom and dad?
Wow.
I mean, if they could talk, I realize they're very young and they may not be able to have the right words for it.
Well,
But if they could talk,
Carl knows something is going on because he always asks me, why are you and Daddy always yelling at each other? You know, I tell him not to yell at his little sister.
Yeah.
And I say, I haven't even told you this. And then he says to me, well, you know, you and Daddy are always yelling. Why do you always tell me not to yell? See, what do I say in situations like that?
So what would you notice different about the two of you tomorrow morning?
Some warmth.
Yeah, I don't think our kids have seen us embrace. They probably don't even remember it.
So he may see the two of you embracing. Okay, what else? What else would he see?
Well, we would go somewhere together. So that would really be a miracle. You know, instead of me throwing
You mean
it
the
in-
family of four?
All four of
all
us.
4 of you will go somewhere.
Right, someplace.
Okay.
And
Someplace
not,
fun?
Not, yeah, someplace fun
Someplace
where we're
fun.
not just dropping them off on the way to work, you know.
Okay.
Just all of us being in the same space.
That would be a miracle for
And-
him.
That would be different.
That would be different for him. Okay.
Not getting ready to go to the babysitters or daycare and not getting ready to go to bed. If we were
That would be different
yeah,
for
I
them.
mean, we don't, that's when we're all four
Yeah.
together.
It's really
And sometimes the kids are in
sounds
bed when
pretty
you get
hectic.
home.
Sounds like your life is pretty hectic.
Yeah, it is, but I still say, you know, I mean, it's not always going to be like this.
Of course not. I'm not sure this is realistic or not, but suppose you do. How would Leslie be different with you? What would she do different?
Well, I suppose, you know, I mean, she'd be warmer.
She'll be
get along.
warmer with you?
We'd get along better.
Okay.
You know, we would communicate better.
Okay, say some
probably.
more about this getting along. What would
You
go
know, I
on?
mean,
What would go on between the two of you?
the thing is that if we have to sacrifice one
Right.
for the other,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we could, you know, I mean, if we just try to get along,
Right.
we could get along.
Right.
But if we have to get along at the cost of me suddenly, you know, not giving the time that I need to give to my job as an eventuality, it's going to affect us financially. And I'm trying to look out for our future. And I think that we have to invest some time in that
Gotcha.
in order to, you know, to make the
Gotcha.
whole thing work.
Gotcha.
There are some
And-
ways
and,
we
you know,
could
I
be
mean, I
investing
love-
and doing
I
our
love
money
our children.
differently.
I love our children and I
Gotcha.
love you, you know, but I'm trying to build something.
There are some
And I'm
ways
trying to
we
build
could
something.
be saving money and doing better financially that doesn't require you to be out of the house 70 hours a week and meeting with these female clients, clients in quotes. Okay,
Well,
I
you
mean
tell
that's
me-
an
you
issue
tell me what it
because if
is.
you were home every night
You
and
tell
you
me
worked
what it
10
is,
hours a
then.
week, if you were out
You tell
with
me what
these
it is.
clients all the time, we would still have a problem, and it's not
Okay, hang
just
on a minute.
that.
Hang on a minute. What has to come first? In order to do whatever you would like to see happen between the two of you, what might be the first small step that help you move toward that, what you'd like to see happen? Sounds like for
He
you,
could be honest.
what would it take, do you think, knowing Leslie as well as you do, what would it take for her to believe you, that you are being honest?
I don't know. What would it take? I mean, I'm willing to try.
Oh, you are?
What would it take?
It would help if you would call, if you would let me know about what time you're going to come home. It would I don't need to know every client that you're going to meet, but I would like to be included in your life in a way that I think is respectful.
Ah, that's what you really want, isn't it?
Okay,
You
I'll
want to
call.
be part of Bill's life.
I'll call. I can do that. That's
can
not
do that.
unreasonable.
Okay.
Okay, and sometimes I get caught up into the throes of business,
Yeah.
and I don't call.
I see.
Okay, but I can call that. I can do.
I
What
would
about,
also
what about for
appreciate.
you? What about for you, Leslie? What can Bill do to be helpful so that you know that he is committed to this marriage as much as you are?
Well, I just said I would call. What would she do? Not what could I do. What could she do? Isn't that the question?
Okay.
I'm already doing as much and more than my share. That's the problem. That's why we're here.
Please, look. I just said I'd call.
What can he do?
Leslie, I haven't been calling. Okay, I admit to that. I cop to that. I don't call regularly when I'm late. I just assume you know. I'll stop. I'll take the effort to call. Okay, to try to appease you.
Would that help? Do you think? How would that help?
You're going to do it because you think it's going to help, or is it just appeasement? Because then I'm going to hear it later in an argument. You got me calling in. Checking in.
Now
so if that's not sincere, don't even
she's
say
programming an argument that hasn't even happened.
Right.
Okay? Please don't do that.
Okay, now, let me come back to you, Leslie. What do you need so that you feel that Bill understand how hard you are working to make this marriage work, to make this family go? What do you need from Bill?
I need some support from Bill. I mean, I work more than 8 hours a day also, and then I come home. I mentioned that I needed him to take more responsibility with child care arrangements, everything, doctor's appointments, visits, shoes, clothes. Sure. I do that all. He doesn't even ask me any questions about how his day with the kids. You come in, you say, how the kids. If sometimes you're not even listening. You walk right by. I can say they've both been in a train wreck. You wouldn't even hear it.
So he's asking and being concerned. Sounds like that's what you want.
Well, you heard it. She just made an assumption that I don't hear. I mean, if I didn't want to know, I wouldn't ask.
Well, when you come in the house, common courtesy, you're going to ask how your kids are. But one day I think I'll try. Been in a train wreck. I'm going to see if courtesy.
That's not common courtesy. These are my children.
I wouldn't come in the house. See, I'm a female. I wouldn't come in the house without asking how are the kids. I mean, I guess you just expect that to happen, from female perspective. Okay, I know he loves the kids. I'm not accusing you of that. But you don't spend time with them.
You do know he loves
Darling,
the kids.
You do not spend time with them, and that's important.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, does Bill know how much you care about him? How much you love him? Do you think Bill knows?
Earlier in the marriage, we would tell each other.
No. We ain't talking about early in the marriage.
Well,
Let's talk about now.
Well, to be absolutely honest, I don't think he particularly finds me attractive, and I feel funny about that. I think that what's that saying is, sometimes I feel it's just he thinks it's cheaper to keep her. That's a saying. Ooh. I'm sorry, I do feel that way sometimes because you're not home. Wow. I have felt that you've had other romantic, sexual interests. Nothing's happening in our bed. So,
So you're very concerned about this. Sounds like you're very concerned about this.
It's not a marriage. We sort of like a roommate that we argue, and we happen to have some children together.
Wow.
And it's too inconvenient to move.
And you really want to change that.
It's going to have to change, or else I am going to be someplace else.
So, and you don't want that. You don't want that. Okay, let me ask you another strange question. I have lots of these strange questions. Okay. Let's say on sort of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 stands for as things right now, and you know what you've been through. The two of you know what you've been through, and you know what the issue's been, and you know what the issues are better than I do right now. Let's say 10 stands for that you will do just about anything humanly possible to make this marriage work. That stands for 10. Okay, and a 1 stands for you're ready to sort of throw in a towel and you're ready to walk away from this. Where would you, each of you, say you're at on a scale of 1 to 10?
Honestly?
Honestly.
7.
7. How about for you?
Well, past year or so, I think I've been at a 10, quite frankly. But the way I'm feeling now, I'm probably, let's put it this way. I've talked to a lawyer. I've talked to a lawyer. just to inquire about what my rights would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably about 5. I'm in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go to the 1, but
You
I
don't
can't
want to
keep-
be at 1.
no, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm pulling it alone.
Right. Uh-huh. Okay.
I'm surprised you had a 7.
Okay. Now, I have another sort of a set of a numbers question here. Knowing how things are right now between the two of you, let's say 10 stands for you have every confidence that this marriage is going to survive. Okay? 10 stands for that. That this marriage has every chance of making it. And 1 stands for, it's just the opposite of that. There is no chance this marriage is going to make it. Where would you say things are at right now?
Well, if we worked at it, I could say it would be more than a 5.
Really? So you see a lot of potential in this?
Well, we do love each other. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I think we do.
You do?
I know I love him. I think he loves me.
Does he know? Does Bill know how much you love him?
He ought to.
He ought to.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
think he does?
Good. Now, see, I shouldn't have told him about the lawyer thing. Now he's mad at me.
I'm not mad.
I didn't see one of your
Uh-huh.
co-workers.
Uh-huh.
I'm not mad. I'm
Yeah.
not mad. I'm not mad. I'm just.
Okay. How about for you?
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, what would you say the chances of this marriage making it?
I would really say an 8
8.
because, I want this to work.
Hmm.
I'm willing to try to make it work.
Hmm.
We have to find some kind of way to compromise, though, because I'm just not, I didn't go through undergrad and law school and, carrying letters and all that, working in the mail, all that bullshit, just to now suddenly, chuck it all away. We can't just live off of your salary,
all away.
What would it take, do you think, for these chances, from your point of view, Leslie? What would it take for you to go from 5 to 6, so you can say it's just a little bit better? It's not perfect yet. It's not all the way up to 10, but it's just a little bit better. What has to happen between the two of you so that you can say that to yourself?
Well, he could call, like he said he
Mhm.
would. And if
That would help.
Yeah, and if he could just make some effort, I would recognize it
Uh-huh.
with trying to share some of the responsibilities. I know he has to work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know if I could feel.
So calling would help you a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe if he could hug me sometimes. I don't know.
You
See
could what?
if he could hug me sometimes to make
he
me
could hug
feel
you.
like a wife.
Okay, that would help also.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Now, what would that mean? What does that mean? How would that help? His hugging you and calling you, and I don't understand that. How would that be helpful for you?
Because for me, first of all, he doesn't believe it, but I do worry about him. It can be dangerous out here, and two, we could talk just about what his day has been like. I would know what time he was going to come home. Maybe I would sit up and we could have a late dinner together. But sometimes I sit up and I don't know what time he's. I just fall asleep and then he comes in and the next thing I know he's in the bed, but then he's asleep and.
So some more personal, private time together.
Right. The kids still go to bed relatively early, but then I'm just, doing some paperwork, or I end up
Okay.
watching TV alone.
All right.
I don't
Now-
know what time he's coming in.
What about it that would be helpful for you? Having those kind of private times between the two of you. What would
Well,
what
we used to
about
have
it?
those private times
You
before
used
the
to
kids
have
were born,
those.
and
I
and it was something I looked forward to. You know, I mean, he was working. He was working then long hours, but that was our special time, and we talked. I mean, I knew people at his office before, not always personally, but because we talked about those things, and I talked about my problems at the
Right.
job. I just talk to my mother now,
Yeah.
about anything. She knows more about what's happening at the
Yeah.
company than you. I mean, because you don't ask. You're not around.
Okay.
You
Let's
don't-
leave your
All
mother
right.
out of this.
Okay.
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 He doesn't like my mother.
Right. Okay.
But that's what I have to
I
talk
didn't
about.
say that. I just said let's leave her out of this. She doesn't really have anything to
Okay.
do with this.
So
Part of the problem, too.
when you have this private time, talking about what his day's been like, what his work is like, and he also asks you about what your day's been like, and having this time without the children,
Mm-hmm.
and that would, how would that be helpful?
It was close. It was
Close.
kind of, your husband is your main confidant, and we would have that relationship. And then I remember times we would even go to bed and make love, and it would be nice. And it was beautiful. And that doesn't happen anymore either.
Right. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. Some special moments with Bill that you feel close to, and you feel like he's your confidant. And okay.
Didn't you like those? I mean, I thought it was fun. I looked forward to it. I mean, no matter how bad the day was, I could look forward to at some point, over salad or whatever, maybe even a glass of wine. We would talk. We would have good times.
Suppose Leslie believes you that you are working when you're not home, that you're working. How would that be helpful for you to know that she believes you?
Well, believe it or not, this stuff bothers me as well.
Of course.
I can't go off and work knowing, and that's, that's some of why I just don't call. Because if I call, we're gonna get in an argument about when I'm coming, what am I doing, who am I with, and all of that. Third degree, and I'm trying to be in the middle of taking care of business. I can't function like that.
Okay.
I can't take care of my business like that.
Suppose she believes. So she believes you that you are working and not with other women. How would that be helpful for you?
It would put my mind at ease. It would make it easier for me to take care of what I need to take care of. And some things that might take 2 meetings, I might be able to get done in 1.
I'm for that.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. So you're saying you're willing to at least try that?
I said try.
Right.
I just,
Is there something that Leslie can do to make it easy for that to happen?
Yeah.
What? What can she do to make it easy for that to happen?
I'm listening. I'm all ears. What can I do? I'll do it. Within reason.
Just be understanding.
Okay.
What
does that mean?
Well,
What does that mean?
don't pressure me.
Okay.
Don't pressure me.
Okay. Not pressure you. Okay.
And know that I'm trying.
Okay.
Gotcha. And know that I love you and I love our children.
Okay.
And that I'm really, really and truly trying. And it's difficult, and a lot of times I just don't have the time. But that
You're going to be able to make time? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm trying. I'm gonna try to make time. I'm gonna try to make time. I'm gonna try the best I can.
Okay.
But I have a vision, and you need to help me with this vision. And if the vision calls for you maybe to do a little more now, then I guarantee you'll do a little less later.
That was a very difficult session, and I'm sure this is a pretty typical kind of cases that you run into. And also, in a way, they both bring up some very important issues. That is sort of for Bill, that his way of caring about his family is to be a good provider and to be successful. He kept saying, I am working for my family. I am working for all of us. And so his vision, he keeps also talking about this vision of his future is to be a good provider in such a way that Leslie can even stay home and not have to go to work. And so in some ways, I suppose one could say he has a very traditional view of marriage. At the same time, he recognizes that there needs to be some balance between the two. On the other hand, Leslie's issue has to do with more here and now, the family relationship now, the more time spent with the children, watching, helping her out, doing things together, more intimate moments that they used to share in an early period of their life. And so what she wants and he wants, they both are related to relationships, but comes from very different angle. So what they need to do is somehow not see this as an either-or situation, but think of this as a both and. And obviously, clients don't see that, and that's what gets them stuck, is when they stick to seeing things from either-or point of view rather than both and. So our job, or my job, is to help them somehow figure out how to see, how they could see themselves working cooperatively together. And I certainly believe that they need both, this visions of the future, as well as also what needs to happen right now. And so what I'm going to do next is I will invite the couple back into the room, and there will be three components to what I would say. The first one is some sense of acknowledging, validating their point of view, and also the task, some sort of bridging statement that leads to the suggestion that we're going to offer. And since the couple are so other-focused, that is, Leslie is very concerned about what Bill is not doing, and also Bill is very concerned about what Leslie is not doing, and therefore the task will be designed to watch each other, but from different point of view than they have done in the past. That is, they have been very focused on what the other person is not doing. And so this time we will have suggest to them about what the other person is doing to help the marriage. I had to think long and hard, and I really have to tell you that I think that your calling to set up this appointment was a really good time, really good timing, because you don't want to make things worse. You don't want things to get any worse than it already has been. And sounds like you are very concerned about what's not happening between the two of you. And I think that you wanted to do something about that. And I really am very impressed, Bill, that you responded to Leslie's initiating this meeting, and your willingness to take time from your very busy schedule. And obviously this relationship is very important to you.
Yes.
And that's why you are here, to do something about this. And what occurred to me is that both of you really care about this relationship, about this marriage a great deal, but both in a very different way. Okay, let me sort of explain to you about this. Bill, your way of caring about this relationship is to have this vision of the future, how you want things to be. That is, I guess you're sort of accustomed to sacrificing a lot for the future, and that's how you still see it, that in order to have a better future, even to the point of maybe Leslie staying home one of these days. That's what you're talking about. That the financially that you could become comfortable enough, you could earn enough money so that she could stay home. And so you have this vision of the future, how you want things to be. And so that's how you care about this relationship. On the other hand, Leslie, your way of caring about this relationship is to paying attention to now. When the children are young, you want the two of you to do more things with the children. You want to share this experience of raising children together. You want to stay close and have more intimate moments, and somehow trying to make it, I mean, sort of like have it all, right? And that's how you are, you care about this relationship. So there's, really there's no question in my mind that both of you care about each other in a very different way. Very different way. And oftentimes that gets misunderstood. And I think that both of you need both ways. Okay? Any relationship needs both. That is, you have to pay attention to here and now as well as the future. Okay? You need to do both. And it's like Bill said, it's a matter of a balance. How to balance here and now and also worrying about the future. And so I think that you two have a very good start because you already are there thinking about right now as well as the future. Okay? So the next task for the two of you, next job for the two of you is to figure out how to sort of fit two of your concerns together to make it fit better. I don't think it's either your way or your way. It's the blending of the two. That somehow how to make a balance. In order to do that, both of you have to work together to strike this balance. Okay? And I really like the way that you want to get started on this. You really, you have some ideas already. You have lots of ideas about how to get started on that. Okay? Like having this, sort of stealing this few moments here and there, without the children. And that certainly would help. So what I would like to suggest to you between now and next time we get together is for each of you to keep track of what the other person is doing. For you to keep track of what Bill does and for you to keep track of what Leslie does to make things a little bit better. Little bit better for the marriage. And it's important for you to not to discuss it, but just keep track of that. Just observe and keep track of that. And when we come back together, we will discuss it more, the details of that. But I want you to sort of observe it, file it away, and then when we get together, we'll talk about that. Okay? Well, it's been 2 weeks since the last session, and before the couple comes back, I want to talk a little bit about what I will be focusing on in this session. I guess the second session task is to elicit whatever the small change is, because change and what is different this time, because the difference is going to lead to change. And so some ways to eliciting their impression of what's been different. And also the next comes then some amplifying how these small change are has had an impact on other parts of their life. So I may ask about not only what the children notice different, but also may ask about how their colleagues on the job or their employers or their co-workers may have noticed different about them. And then the view toward then is what is the next step. Not only reinforcing these changes, but also moving toward what will be the next step. And that could be done in talking about by concrete step-by-step fashion, which I would guess that this couple would respond better. Also, you could also find out about that through use of the scaling question. And then again, at the end, I would take a break and give the couple some comments and feedback, as well as some ideas or suggestions for what might be the next step. Nice to see you back.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. So, it's been about 2 weeks since we got together last time.
Mm-hmm.
What's been better for the two of you?
You first.
We managed to. I managed to bargain for some time, and we took the kids to the zoo. We had a wonderful time.
Mm-hmm.
We
They really enjoyed it.
Really? Wow. How did you manage that?
How did you manage it?
Yeah.
Actually, what I did was I transferred a case that I had, gave it to someone else in the office.
No kidding.
Which I told my wife I would not be making a practice of. I'll do this occasionally, but I can't make a practice of it.
Yeah.
And
but you were willing to do that this time.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I mean,
that must have been hard.
Understanding of the situation. And we actually spent,
I appreciate it. We had so much fun.
Oh, you did?
We spent
Wow.
some
Really? Without the kids?
Yeah, some intimate time
Intimate
together.
times. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So anyway, I'm hoping now that my wife will begin to understand that I love her, and that I'm not out here to do anything for anybody other than ourselves.
Now, would you agree that was a fun time for you also?
That was really wonderful.
Awesome.
I want to do it next week. I know. We can't every week, but it really made a difference. The children were so excited about going to see the animals, and Daddy was coming too. They couldn't believe it. It was wonderful.
Wow. That was wonderful. Right?
We had a good time.
You did. Yeah. That must have taken quite a bit of coordination to pull it off. I mean, that's not easy to do that with 4 kids. I mean, 4 people's schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was so wonderful because he told me in advance that,
He did. He did.
I'm going to be able to take this Saturday for this time. What do you want us to do? And so we actually thought about a couple of things and decided upon the zoo. So there was that kind of communication because I did need to coordinate to make sure that I didn't have to go in to work. I appreciated that. And I told him.
Great.
It worked out. It worked out well.
That's great.
The thing is that I'm hoping that we can continue to understand that, that I can't, do this as much as I would really and truly like to. And I mean, I realize through coming here that, that before I, it just wasn't working at all.
Right. Right.
But
in
return,
before we get to
that,
let me ask you a little bit. What did Leslie do to make things a little easier for you to take time off and even give up a case? That must have taken a lot. What did Leslie do to make things easy for you to do that?
Easy?
Yeah, a little bit easier for you to do that.
Easy?
Well,
I mean, she drugged me in here.
A little bit easier.
She drugged me in. Well, not really. I think part of this grew out of us. As much as I hate to admit it, this was a level of communication. And, beginning to get a level of communication, because we talked some more after we left here.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to talk gave us the impetus, I guess, we needed to start to communicate, and so our communication has improved.
Wow. You agree with that?
I'm trying to talk in a more in a calmer fashion, without being accusatory. I'm trying.
You can hear it in her voice.
I'm
Really?
trying.
Really?
I'm trying.
Okay.
You didn't notice that new black nightgown I bought. See, you didn't notice that, though. Huh?
Wow.
You didn't want to say that.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't make it easier.
What about Leslie's voice? You mentioned her voice. What about it that helps?
Well, I mean,
how is it different?
Like she said, I mean, we have found a level at which we can talk instead of argue.
Right.
Right. Because I was not at all, I just wasn't into arguing.
Right.
I don't have time for that.
Right.
So when we got to a conversation that was at the level of argumentation, I just sort of cut it off, and we were not talking. And now, we're starting to talk a little bit, and I mean, just a little bit. I mean, our schedules still are absolutely crazy. And we still, for the most part, only see each other for a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes at night.
Sure.
And if I can steal a day every couple of weeks, I don't know if that's going to be enough. I hope that it begins,
Okay.
Because this is the only way we can live. I mean,
Right.
it
is pretty
arguing
hectic.
and shit, I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
What about what Bill did this past couple of weeks? What did he do that was helpful for you?
Well, one thing that was helpful was that I did keep track. He called at least, I think last week it was about 4 times.
No kidding.
I know. You probably
Wow.
thought, well, I gotta go to the phone and call my wife. But I mean, it really made a difference to me.
Did.
To kind of know. And then, that night, that you called and said you'd be home around 10:30.
Yeah.
And, so I waited up. And,
Yeah.
just the call to know. And he came in at the time he said he was going to come
Wow.
in. And it made a real difference.
The phone calls are still a little unpleasant.
Oh, wow. Yes.
The phone calls are still unpleasant because
that makes a
she
difference to
still
me.
does.
It does.
Makes a
She
difference to me.
does,
Wait, I can't
What
tell.
makes a difference? Oh.
You dug it out from wherever it was hidden, huh? I appreciate that. I do.
Now, what does that mean that the Bill has his wedding ring? What? It sounds like it's very important to you. It has some special meaning to you. What does that mean for you?
Well, I recognize that doesn't mean. I mean, a lot of married men have their wedding rings on and they still fool around. I'm not saying you are, but
Thank you.
okay, I'm not saying you are. But to me, it meant that he knew that I was upset that he didn't wear his. I didn't nag him about it.
Right.
But one day last week, I just noticed it was on his finger again, and I felt that. Maybe it's not that important to him, but he knew it hurt me and bothered me. So I think he was making an effort. And I appreciate that.
Is that one of the things that he did to make things a little bit better?
That was a very nice one.
It was a very nice one. Okay. Anything else you noticed he did to make things better?
Well, I mean, for me, believe it or not, it sounds like a small thing, but the zoo. And it was very important in the interaction with the kids. Carl was just so happy being around his daddy. It was beautiful. I got some nice pictures of them and everything. I think we're also making an effort. I mean, it's not all there like it used to be, but, just being able to be close and to touch. I mean, I felt that he made an effort to make me know that he still desired me and looked at me, and
that was what's important to you. Yeah. Okay. What about for you? What did Leslie do to make things better? What have you noticed about?
Well, the big thing, like I said, is we're talking instead of arguing.
Okay.
I mean, the phone calls were a little difficult because she still asks a lot of questions, and
But I wouldn't be honest if I didn't at least.
Yeah, no.
I'm trying to be.
The whole point is that when I'm take the time to do that, I'm taking time to do that, and I just want to be brief with it.
I don't think it's too much. Then if you do call for me to ask a couple of questions, what should I do? Hello, okay, I know you're busy. Bye.
I mean,
Okay. All right. What else did she do that was helpful?
Yeah. Well,
you said something about the communication.
I mean, she's just kinder.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh, say some more about that.
Well, I mean, and I'm only there. We all sort of share breakfast.
Yeah.
In the morning, and she's just been pleasant enough to kiss goodbye.
Really?
Huh? And I mean, hey, come on now. A few weeks ago, I was just ducking out the door, getting out as quick as I could, and coming in late enough so maybe she was asleep. But, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's hope.
So there's a big change. That's a big change, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes a difference. Right.
Okay.
It is.
All right. Now let me ask you. Remember there was a numbers question? I'm gonna bring it out again. Those numbers. Remember?
1 to 10.
Yeah, 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Right.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Now, as of right now, if I were to ask you where things stand in terms of how hopeful you are, then maybe this marriage can make it. Remember, 10 stands for you're very hopeful. You have, every hope, any reasonable hope that anybody can have. And 1 stands for we might as well just throw in a towel. Where would you say you're at right now that this marriage will make it?
Maybe a 9.
9? What do you think?
Well, I was going to say 8, but
Yeah.
maybe 8.5.
8.5?
Oh, you push it up a half.
Well, the fact that you said 9, I'll try a little bit harder, maybe. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay.
that's what came to my head.
I
That's a
mean,
big change. That's a big change.
I've always believed in the marriage.
Have you?
And I believe in the marriage.
Right.
And I want the marriage to work. It's just, I guess we just need to look at what it takes to make it work clearly. And as long as we can stay kind of on track about not harassing each other, not really believing in each other and trying to work our stuff out. Maybe maybe it'll stay healthy. I guess that's my thought. It'll stay healthy.
So that's a good point. What would it take? What would it take for you to stay on this track at 8.5 and 9? That's very hard. What would it take for the two of you to stay on that?
Well, this may feel like a little honeymoon period this
I'm sure it
past
does. I'm
week,
sure it
so
does.
I'm aware that it's easy to get back into the old ways after you make
Right,
up. We've been through
right.
this before, kind of make up a little
Oh,
bit,
really?
and then you go right back into
okay.
it. So we have to be vigilant.
Okay.
And I know I do appreciate the fact that you took off, and yes, it changed our finances a bit, but I think what we got in exchange, money can't buy everything. Money is important, but it's not everything. And I would never have traded that day at the zoo for, I don't care how much the case was worth. Well, I guess it wasn't worth $1 million, was it? Well, anyway, it was worth it to be out with the kids. It really meant a lot.
what needs to happen for the two of you so you feel like your life is moving on in the right direction? What needs to happen?
I don't mind someone coming in, but I don't really think if we're trying to build for what we say we're building for, that's a little... well, my mother never had anybody in her house. I don't know. I kind of feel that that's something wealthy people do or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
we're not wealthy.
no, I'm just your mama. I don't understand how anybody could live with your mama. I don't understand how you live with your mama.
He does
The
not
woman
get
is
on my mother.
And
Let's
see,
leave my mother out of it.
I'm gonna tell you something. Part of, and that's that's where you get that from. That's where you get that. That's the way she is. It is impossible to have a conversation without it turning into some kind of
what
argument
needs to happen?
without
What needs to
resolution.
happen?
We need to be able to communicate regularly, even if the issue is money.
Okay.
I mean, money is just
so how are you
another...
gonna solve this? How are you gonna solve this problem between the two of you about this issue?
Well, I mean, it's
how
like
much help you need.
This, over the past couple of weeks, we finally have begun to find a way to communicate.
Right.
We finally begun to break through this armor that we built up over, say, the last 5 years, because the first couple of years of our marriage was sweet.
Right.
And
then, what's the next step?
Kids begin to come.
What's the next step for the two of you? What do you need? What you need to do so that you can solve this issue?
Keep this communication going on.
Right.
Well, we can't skirt around the issue of money. And for me, Lois is an issue, and not romantically, but Lois, Bill Jr.'s mother, financially is an issue. I admit. I am resentful.
Right.
And not because I don't want Bill Jr. to be. I mean, what kind of woman would I be? I don't want him living in some slum or whatever. But I just kind of feel that his mother takes advantage of the fact that Bill is a good man.
So what can Bill do to deal with Lois then? Is there something, what would be helpful
Wait a minute,
for Bill to do?
hold it. Before we start talking about me dealing with Lois, let's talk about me dealing with Leslie. Okay?
How's
because
that?
Here's what I'm saying. If it's a matter of financial, it's not so much the matter of our financial status, but it's the matter of us being able to discuss finances. Because if we start talking about our house note, in comes Lois. If we start talking about our grocery bill, in comes Lois. And Lois is this hammer over here that she likes to swing into the budget periodically. And I'm saying, that's not...
It's a factor, and it bothers me. I don't mean to do it like that.
Resolutely speaking, it's a bill. It's a bill that we know that I have to pay. Yes, it affects our income, but it doesn't. It doesn't stop the ball from rolling. No. And I'm saying what's happening is we're letting this be one of the things that stop. And you're so demanding. It's like we just get to the point that we can begin to talk, and then you throw this thing in too.
It's always been an issue if we really going to resolve it.
So what would it take? What would it take for you to? I'm confused about this. Are you saying, Bill, that what you pay to Lois is non-negotiable? It's just one of those bills that you have to pay? Is that what you're talking about?
What do you mean non-negotiable?
I mean, are you talking about negotiating this?
No, the things that were decreed by the court, the child support and alimony. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. We know that when holidays and birthdays come up, just like our children, we buy things for Bill Jr. Yeah. What I have a problem with is the tuition, or, gee, this bill is coming up and I didn't expect it, so Bill, can you help us out? Or, it goes on. I mean, I feel like the first person that she calls, if she gets a little short, it's Bill.
Okay.
So what would
it's extra money coming.
So what can Bill do that would be helpful?
He would not like this, but I certainly wish he would confer with me about extra money. He wouldn't like it.
Hold it, please. I see. Do you want for anything?
I don't buy everything I want.
Do you want for anything?
I have a roof over my head. I mean, we're not.
Do you want for anything?
And neither does Bill Jr.
Just answer the question. Do you?
We have what our needs are and more.
Do you want for anything? Yes or no?
It's not a yes or no question.
Yeah, right.
It's not.
See what I'm saying? It's hard to get a resolution.
Yeah, I want
you
my
don't
husband
want
to confer
anything.
with me.
The
I do want that.
Our children do not want for anything.
So
okay, here's my point.
Okay, what's your point?
I don't, she doesn't want for anything. Right. I don't want for anything, and none of our children do. Right. Okay? Right. We are not, it's not like we are in the shape that if she lost her job tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to pay the rent for the next month. Right. We are beyond that. Right. We have left that stage of life behind. Right. So what I'm saying is, yes, what this does is our car, for example, is 3 years old, and maybe if we didn't have Lois to work, to worry about, our car would be year to date. Okay, so what I'm saying is we do not want for anything, but we are not, we're not quite at that pinnacle. And I know that two things are happening. One, my financial status is increasing.
Yes, but he's working 70 hours a week to get us to the point where we don't want anything.
Right. And that's
but if you work less and she needed less, then you could be home more.
Okay, so what are some of your ideas about, Leslie? How to make that happen? I
know in our relationship that Bill Jr. is sensitive territory. Yeah. We get along, he and I well. And he gets along. Well, no, I think it's sensitive to this extent. Okay. If we start involving, or if I get in a conversation with him about Lois and how I think that paying her tuition is not correct. I think that she should have gotten financial aid or whatever. She doesn't even bother to fill out those papers because Bill is there. If I bring that up, he often misinterprets. I think it's a misinterpretation. My questions about money, extra money going to Lois, as I see it, extra money, as a lack of my concern for Bill. I think he's making up for the fact that he can't be with Bill Jr. full time by appeasement of Lois and money. And I don't think it can happen that way. I mean, it's unfortunate that he said, I would like him to be with us, but that's not going to happen. Lois is not going to allow that. And I think that's what happens, and it bothers me because I see my husband working 70 hours a week, complaining, and it's partly because he's got to keep Lois.
I see. So it sounds like your concern comes from your concerns about Bill working so many hours to do all this, do everything. That's where it's coming from. I see. I didn't realize that.
Well,
so you
it doesn't come from I hate Lois. I don't want Lois to have this or whatever. He's extremely generous. That's the kind of guy he is.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I loved him.
Right. That's what attracted you.
I met him and I loved him for that. So I would not take that part of his personality away. But I would just say that I think it would be better for us, and I think it would really be better for Lois and Bill. He doesn't see his mother, Bill Jr., he doesn't see his mother as a strong person, in the way he sees his father. But she could grow. I'm not saying she has to run out and we just stop. Anytime she would ask for anything, we would never consent. Okay. But she has not been independent enough of you. Okay. I really don't think she's made that separation.
When she becomes more independent, then it will be less of a burden on Bill.
That's how you're thinking. For herself.
Right, when she becomes stronger. And
I envision a time Bill Jr. would be 18 or whatever. I mean, of course, we have visions of him going to college and so on and so forth. I see Bill Jr. away, earning his own living, and Lois calling you up and saying, I need this. And you go say, well, she doesn't have it, and I better drive over there and give her some money. I think you would.
Yeah,
that's what you don't want to
see
happen.
Hardly.
What do the two of you need to do? What can Leslie do to be helpful for you so that you can maintain this where you're at about 8.5 and 9?
This is another one of those tough calls because we probably, and I admit I really love it and I appreciate it that my wife takes care of all of the house bills, paperwork, etc. She does that. And I just have to cut her a check, for whatever the deal is. But I mean, the fact is I don't really have time to do this at home because this is what I do all day for other people. And I mean,
I don't know a solution with the Lois situation. I would request, and I would try very hard not to turn it into an argument. I would request that at least you run other expenses past the child support and alimony for Lois and our son, Junior, past me, so that I don't find it out in the bank statements.
Now, let me understand this.
That's all.
It's really minimal. I mean,
okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Okay.
You think it's
Now,
minimal? It's
how
really not.
would that be helpful?
Because I would like, since it's our money,
Right.
because part of my earnings go toward this extra. I mean, we pool our finances, so his money is my money, my money is his money.
Right.
And we knew this was a bill,
Right.
But I'm talking about the things above and beyond.
Right.
That if she requests some tuition payment, he doesn't come in and say, well, I'm going to write a check for tuition payment. It's like when I get the statements, I say, oh, here's a check.
Yeah.
Written to Lois.
Right. Right. So he's talking to you about
and
it
it's
ahead
not
of
just
time.
one check now. I mean, yes, it would help.
How would that be helpful? How would that?
Because I think
What
it would be
difference would that make for you?
respectful, and I think that there are times, quite frankly, when you have consented to give her monies that I think, if we had talked it over, she might have found some other ways to get what it was that she needed to be done.
Like how?
That were not.
Like how?
I see. So you want
like
to...
I do, because I don't have an ex-husband to go to and ask for some money. And if I need some...
No, you don't have an ex, you have a husband.
Right.
And I mean, we spend all
that's
this
4
time.
years of
We're
that.
just spending too much time talking about this.
Right.
This is really...
Right. I'm just wondering
This
about
doesn't
it.
help.
Right. Absolutely.
This is not helping us.
You're right about
I should just
So
put
what needs
Lois
to be done?
away and not say anything about it anymore.
Yeah?
That's...
Can you do that?
That's...
I'm sure I could never say anything, but it would eat away at me. It's an issue.
Well,
So that's not an answer.
look, I'm not suggesting that we're not saying anything. That's not what
So
I'm
what are you
suggesting.
going to do? What other two are we going to do about this issue?
Well, I mean, this has been going on, so this was not a new thing. I'd like to kind of get it
understand.
resolved at some point.
Yeah.
But I want to keep,
what will resolve
I
it?
want to keep communicating. I want to keep... Well, you get angry sometimes because I raise the things that I feel. And then I feel funny if you get angry at me. It makes me feel very uncomfortable if you get angry at me because I'm being honest. It makes me want to go back into the shell and not say anything.
Okay.
I know this is a sensitive issue for both of us.
Okay. So you do want to
All right.
keep communicating. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I think it's imperative.
Right.
Maybe maybe we can all sit down. Maybe you, Lois, and I can all sit down and talk about her financial status. I don't.
Maybe we can decide how much
imagine.
money above and beyond what's court decreed is reasonable. Because she has a generous settlement, I mean, maybe we can say this is the amount of money, include in the birthdays, include in, and, miscellaneous.
So you two
emergencies.
decide and let her know what is reasonable and what is beyond this is not reasonable. Is that kind of thing you're taking about?
Well, she's just going to say, well, give it to me now.
Right.
I mean, come on, Leslie.
She probably would.
You don't see that as...
I think she picks on the woman because it's my ex-wife. Okay,
That's not
fine.
obvious.
It's ex-wife. You don't have to. I don't think you necessarily have to like her. But
I think she's perfectly nice.
Okay,
I
just
so
don't like that
obviously,
But it is-
sounds like this is gonna. I mean, this is one of those issues that's gonna take some time
Mm-hmm.
to come to some sort of resolution. Because
If ever.
Bill Jr. is how old now?
13.
13. So we're talking about another 5 years, right? At
Well,
least.
I'm sure we're going to see him through college, too, so it's not going to stop.
Okay.
Right, we are. He is going to college, right?
yeah, I don't know what you mean by it's not gonna stop.
It's not going to stop at 18.
Okay.
It's not gonna stop.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
Children are forever.
So this is one of those problems that it's going to take some time to resolve. Okay. So in the meantime, what else do you need to do to keep going in the right direction?
Communicate.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. We're not going to have many arguments.
Try to spend time together.
When I call you, I would appreciate it if you would tell me if you're really busy at that point, then I won't ask you questions. And I need to know what aggravates you. Asking what you had to eat, to me, is not, I don't intend to harass you. I just want to make sure that you had your lunch and such, because I know that you go terrible for you, and I want you to stay all right. I don't mean it as, what are you doing and such, but if you interpret it as such, then maybe I need to make myself more clear as to why I'm asking. I'm interested in what you're doing. I mean, it's not, what are you doing? It's, what was fun today? Is anything interesting happening? I know that you cannot always respond to that, but you should just tell me. Maybe I can't talk right now, but I just wanted to let you know. That would make it easier.
Right.
What would you like me to say on the phone when you call? I don't even know. What should I say?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What would make you...
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to tell you that I am just absolutely amazed by the degree and the intensity of the passion you have between the two of you. It is just, there is a lots of energy. Just lots of energy. And, you're just so involved with each other. And I guess what comes through is that the both of you value so much about what the other person thinks of you. For example, you really are sensitive to what Bill thinks of you, and you don't want to be misunderstood. Okay? And same thing for you, that you want to make sure that Leslie understands you accurately. And, you are, you're the passion. It's just, I can see why you love him. It's just this, it's just so intense, And so both of you want to be understood by the other person in an accurate way possible. And that's because you care. You care what she thinks of you, and you care what he thinks of you. And I think that is just coming across very clearly. And so it seems like what you want is you want to be understood, you want to be involved in Bill's life. You want him to involve you in his life. Yes. You want to involve him into your life. Okay? Yes. And the other side of you, from your side, Bill, is like you want to make things easy for Leslie. You want to take care of things on your own. You want to be responsible. You want to make her life easier. So it's easier for you to just take care of Lois, take care of other things, and not worry her, not burden her. And oftentimes that gets misunderstood and that gets miscommunicated. But what both of you want is the communication, and I absolutely agree with that. That you want to stay in touch, you want to be understood, you want to know what's going on. And I would say you have a very good start. Very good start. Certainly what you did these past couple of weeks, it will certainly help, and it certainly is in the right direction. And you need to do those things to stay in communication as you go along. Obviously, I think they agree with you that you can't do this every week, but you need to have more balance in that direction. But as you go along, I would like each of you, and you, to think about, pay attention to what Leslie does in her own way, that she stays in communication with you. Okay, what she does in her own way. And also, I would like you to pay attention to what Bill does. What does he do to keep you involved in his life in his own way? Mm-hmm. Okay, it may not be your way, but somehow he does it in his own way. And so pay attention to those. and see how things are going with that. Okay? And when you come back with that information, then we will again figure out what might be the next step.
So now, do we still need to try to not tell the other person what we're noticing and just wait until they come here?
Right. Yes, I would like you to keep that up till we get together next time. All right. Is that okay?
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, since this model, the solution-focused model, is very much process-oriented, I would like to comment a couple of points on the process of what just happened in these 2 sessions that you have watched. That is that I believe that with a couple like this, it's very easy to escalate. The couple can get easily become escalated about the past. That is not terribly useful because they can, the more they talk about the past, the more it comes out as a blaming and accusing. And then, of course, in response to that is to defend themselves and then accuse and blame the other person. So instead of that, the escalation should be always about the future. That the future focus, that's one point that I want to make. And as we direct the clients toward the future focus, while we are doing that, we are also helping the client to create the future view that is consistent with how they like to be. And so, again, the answers to the future view comes from them rather than from the therapist. With a couple like this, where there is such a great deal of passion, lots of energy, and again, by the way, the calling their involvement and their conflictual style calling it as a passion has a whole different meaning attached to it than calling it very conflictual. So I think they're working with their passionate style, and that's their way of being in the world. That's the way they engage with each other, and that's the way they solve problems, and that's the way they see things. And so using their style of engaging with great deal of passion, that perhaps the therapist now can start thinking about how can they use this kind of a passion in a more positive direction so that they will become passionate about making things better, for example. I think that, again, the next point that I want to comment is with a couple like this, it's very easy to become pulled into a right and wrong, black and white view. That is, that wife's view seems to make more sense than husband's view, or husband's view seems to make more sense than wife's view. And oftentimes couples pull therapists into that role of agreeing with one or the other, and therefore it's very important not to become allies for one or the other, but focusing on the process of what happens between the two of them. So, for example, what do you need to do to convince your wife to see things your way? Or what do you have to do so that Leslie or Bill will go along with your idea? Those kind of a process-oriented question is very useful. While we are listening, I think that the whole therapeutic task is, while we are listening to the unhelpful side of their marriage, the conflictual side, if you will, or whatever this sort of the side of their marriage that they don't want. While we are listening for that carefully, our job is always pointing the finger toward how to push the marriage toward a more healthier side. And so therefore the questions we ask are generated from that point of view, what can a therapist do to push this couple to, or suggest to them or elicit their view of how to move in a direction that is helpful? Well, I hope this tape has been useful for you.